Welcome on in, Eagles fans, to episode 23, a special midweek bonus podcast, an emergency podcast, as we're calling it, of the No-Huddle Show. I'm Joe Giglio, joined as always by Elliot Shore-Parks and Mark Eckel. And the reason for this show on this Wednesday morning we're recording it is because on Tuesday night, the three of us, and probably a lot of you out there, received some sort of notification on your phones, whether it be from the Eagles or Bleacher Report or whatever, or an email from the Eagles, saying that Chip Kelly had been released. Yes, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, the guy in charge of player personnel, all that stuff, is no longer. Kelly is gone. I'm shocked. Elliot, Mark, Elliot, let's start with you. Your initial reaction. I was floored on Tuesday night when I saw what my phone was telling me.
Yeah, the craziest thing to me was, like, normally when big things in this regard happen, you know, there's a heads up about it, or there's some inclination it might happen. There's a report. There's something. I mean, me and Mark were both down at the new NovaCare on Tuesday, and it was just like business as normal. I was talking.
We were on something. I just didn't think it was going to happen on a Tuesday.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, in terms of him being fired that day, I mean, like, I was talking to players in the locker room just about, like, you know, just random things, and no one had any idea this was going to happen. And generally, when a story like this happens, you know, the beat writers will get a text from the team or something, just kind of letting them know this is happening. And we found out the same way the players did, via the team's official mobile app, via Twitter. And I literally couldn't believe what I was reading.
Mark, how about you? I mean, you've been around for some of these coaches that have come and gone, but was this the most surprising, just kind of the way it went down?
The way it went down, yeah, Joe. I mean, as I said before, this is crazy. Monday night, I'm watching the Bengals-Broncos game. It's a pretty good game. And I'm texting a source of mine who, without saying too much, was involved in that game in some ways. So we're texting back and forth about what's going on. And somehow Sam Bradford's name got brought up. And I think he said something to me like, "Hey, it looks like the Eagles are the Eagles bringing back Bradford," or something along those lines. And I responded, "Well, yeah, I think they are now, because Chip again said today he really wants him back." And then the text I got back, and this is the guy, he's been very good to me through the years. He's given me a lot of the stories I've broken through the years he's been a part of. He texts back, "Are you sure Chip's coming back?" And I was kind of stunned by that, and I texted him back and said, "I'm pretty sure. Why? Do you know something I don't know?" And he said, "Well, there's some stuff going on there. If he comes," and then there's some other stuff. But then he said, if he comes back, he's going to have to make some changes. And I responded with, in personnel or on his coaching staff? And he said, probably both. So I spent most of yesterday, and Elliot will tell you, we were both kind of, you know, asking around and trying to find out what was going on. But even the guy that was telling me, he called me last night and said, "Man, I didn't think it was going to happen. I tried to give you a heads up, but I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly." Everybody figured that, you know, Lurie and Kelly would meet like Monday after the Giants game, and maybe Lurie would say to him, "Listen, I'm disappointed in the way the year went. I'm sure you are too. You got to fire Billy Davis, or you have to bring in somebody over Manowitz to do some of that." But bang, it happened. It happened yesterday.
And that's the weird thing about this is, I mean, it's still kind of all coming out and coming together, but it sounds like Chip and Lurie met Tuesday morning. Yeah. Chip went and coached practice, came in from practice, and Lurie just fired him. So one thing we've said on this podcast a bunch is, and I guess I still believe it, I don't know, is that I didn't think Chip was so into, like, having complete personnel control. But I can't imagine what he would have said to Lurie. I mean, maybe he said he wanted to re-sign Sam Bradford, and Lurie was just like, "All right, man, that's enough." But, like, no, I mean, no seriousness, I wonder what he could have said to Lurie during that meeting that made Lurie feel so strongly about not only getting rid of him, but getting rid of him, like, that day.
I think it's the opposite. I don't think Chip said anything. I think Chip's relieved, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think Chip, apparently, teams are lining up to hire him.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, he's probably a top 10 NFL coach.
He's a good coach. He's idiot fans that are celebrating now. Good luck, okay? You're 0 for 55. You're 0 for 22 with the guy who owns the team now. Good luck. I hope you're not real old, because you're going to be dead before this team ever wins. All right?
I guess the question to me now is, and Ellie, you were kind of trying to touch on this and trying to, we're all probably trying to figure it out ourselves, but why now not why he did it, but why on a Tuesday night before Week 17? I mean, next Monday is Black Monday around the end, but why now?
Right, and I mean, I guess we'll find that answer out, to the Wednesday afternoon when Lurie speaks to the media, or at least what he's willing to tell us. But to me, it speaks to obviously a fractured relationship. I mean, obviously Andy Reid was here longer than Chip Kelly, had more success. That being said, when Reid was fired, they gave him a game ball. They held a thing for him in the auditorium. I mean, there
was cake involved, I think.
Yeah, right. I don't think it's Lurie's style to just jettison a guy. But it's clear. I mean, why not let him coach the final game if there's no hard feelings?
It was Chip's decision. I think. Again, we don't know. We weren't there, but from what I'm hearing and adding up the pieces, if they had a meeting yesterday and Lurie demanded this, and this, and Chip said, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not firing Ed Manowitz." And part of the story also is Howie Roseman versus Ed Manowitz.
Yes, for sure.
And I've been told I used the word was Howie's poisoning Ed, and he was. Roseman was leaking things to different people, saying what a quote unquote bad guy Ed Manowitz was, and how nobody in the building likes Ed Manowitz. Well, in my work yesterday, I talked to people who have been in that building a long time, and they had nothing but nice things to say about Ed Manowitz. And anyone I've ever talked to who deals with Ed Manowitz, other people in his position around the league. Now, some always say, he's a little young, a little inexperienced to have that job, but I've never, ever, from anyone I've talked to, ever heard a disparaging personal comment about Ed Manowitz. It's always, a little young, 30 years old to have that job, but he's bright, he's young, he works hard, good guy, nice wife, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've never heard, oh yeah, that guy, watch out for that guy, he's a bad guy. I've never heard that.
To me, what you just said just speaks to the dysfunction that's going on right now at the NovaCare.
They're a laughing stock right now. They're laughing at it. They're the Cleveland Browns.
Right. But to me, the question is, and I think a lot of people blame Chip for that, but in my opinion, that's not Chip's fault.
It's Howie.
Right. It's Howie absolutely is an issue. But the other thing is, so on one hand, I say to myself, well, Chip is the one, we're assuming he wanted complete control of the personnel department. I still think more of that was just getting Howie out. But regardless, whatever he did ended up with him in control of the personnel department. And as highly as I think of him as a head coach, I mean, a lot of his moves did not work out in his first year, but it's still his first year. And, you're not even 3 years into a head coach, not even one complete year into being, in control of the personnel department. I'm just surprised they would pull the cord on him this quickly.
I am too. And that's the thing here. I mean, he just gave him this power, and regardless of if it was Lurie's idea, Chip's idea, or whoever's idea, it just happened a year ago. And a year ago, Jeff Lurie said to you guys, I think it was at the owners' meetings, or
I was there out in Arizona.
Right. He said the good to great thing, that Chip had a vision to go from good to great. And now I think the question has to be, did he give him enough time? And there's the thing about continuity we all talk about, and you don't want to have continuity for continuity's sake if you don't believe in the guy anymore, but was this enough time after you give Chip all the power to then not only take it away, but to fire the guy? It's over. I mean, Mark, do you think he gave him enough time?
No, this shows the incompetence of this organization and why they haven't won anything in 55 years. You don't give the guy. I mean, right or wrong. Maybe it was wrong to give him all the power. I mean, you can make an obvious argument there.
Right.
Then you don't. This is why people around the league are laughing at the Eagles now. You give the guy almost exactly a year ago. It was the day after New Year's, where New Year's Eve, Tom Gamble's fired by Howie Roseman. The day after New Year's, I guess they took New Year's Day off. Then the day after New Year's, Chip goes in. He has that meeting with Lurie. There's all kind of speculation that Chip's going to walk, and he's going, and Chip comes away with the keys to the kingdom. He's in charge now. And Lurie praises him. Oh, Chip has a plan, and I love his vision, and blah blah blah. And this is going to be great. Well, vision to me means not looking tomorrow, looking down the road. And yes, some of his offseason moves Didn't work. Okay. I mean, it happens in the NFL. It happens in every sport. You know, you sign a guy that led the league in rushing last year thinking he's going to be a pretty good back, and he turns out not to be so good. It happens. You trade for Sam Bradford. He was better than Nick Foles. Let's I don't know.
He was
the quarterback. But I mean, they took some chances. But if there's vision, well, it's not we're not going to fix everything, and it's not going to be a 1 year, 1 day thing. You have to ride it out a little bit, don't you? So now a year later,
not even a year later,
gone.
Not even 17 games.
He's gone. He's not even like taking up. All right, listen, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have given you all that power, Chip. I'm going to bring now. Maybe that's how. We don't know what went down in that meeting, but the stuff I'm being told is, Lurie and Roseman got to him, and this is almost like a Sopranos episode or a year of the Sopranos. Howie whacks Tom Gamble, and I'm saying, Chip goes in, and now he's the other family, so he gets Howie. They didn't whack him. He probably should have whacked him, but he didn't whack him. He just got him.
They got him in jail for a year on the other side of the building.
Yeah. He had him put away. But now Howie was put away. He's in that little office where nobody knows where it was. It was like in the other side of the building. It was in a different area code. So, but he plotted. He's in that little office of his. And this is what somebody actually told me. Howie had nothing to do all year except figure out how to get Chip.
The equipment.
Serious. Somebody told me that. Really, what did he do? He made sure the balls were inflated properly. I mean, whatever. I mean, that was his job. So all year, Howie, and guess who sat with Jeffrey Lurie at every game? Howie Roseman.
Guess who I saw walking out of the locker room together after that blowout loss to Detroit?
And every time Murray lost a yard, or every time Bradford threw a pick, or every time Maxwell got beat in a coverage, oh, Jeff, I wouldn't have signed that guy. I wouldn't have traded for that guy. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that. And it played, and here we are. Howie Roseman, king of the world.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
Danny Watkins is still available. They can re-sign Danny Watkins if they want.
Let me ask you guys this, because I'm still I think we're all kind of still processing this. But if Lurie goes to Chip on Tuesday and says, "All right, I still believe in you as a head coach, but we're bringing Howie back as personnel guy," or
I would have done it.
Well, but here's my question: do you think Lurie should have? Because Lurie obviously fired Chip. I mean, I agree with you, Mark, that I don't think Chip was begging for his job. I think Chip was probably like, "Get me out of here" to a certain degree. That being said,
well, I don't think on Monday. I don't think Chip was begging to get out of here. I think once Lurie gave him the parameters of what it was going to be like going forward, Chip said, "Screw this."
And you think that was a right decision by Lurie and Chip at that point then?
By Chip, yes. By Lurie, no. I mean, I'm a Chip guy. I'm going to go down as a Chip guy.
I am as well.
I don't think they should have fired Chip. I think he deserved it. Eventually, yes, maybe. But give him another. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it all plays out. But today, as we're talking on Tuesday, December 30th, no, I don't think it was the right decision to fire Chip.
I agree. I think it was a big mistake, to be honest. I mean, from being down, I've been at basically every practice, and you have pretty much as well, Mark, since Chip was hired. I mean, we're in that NovaCare 4 days a week during the season. We're in there during the off season. I mean, I'm new to this. Mark's been doing it for a long time. This is pretty much the first coaching firing I've been through, because right as Reed was fired was kind of when I was coming on. So maybe it feels like this way every time when a coach is fired. But to me, it just feels like from being in the NovaCare and from being here, I mean, like, people don't understand how much Chip changed with this organization, just in terms of like everything with the NovaCare. Just like he redid, entire parts of it. Like there was such an emphasis on sports science. The training equipment was changed over. There was a smoothie bar added everywhere. And so, I mean, that sounds like silly things, but to me, if you're Lurie, you've invested so much into this guy. Not only just over the past year by giving him personnel, just in every aspect of your entire organization. This was Chip's team. And Mark, you can speak to this on whether it was like this with every head coach, but to me it feels like they're just like axing this not even experiment, they're like just axing this way prematurely. Yes. After everything you've invested just to give up on it. And let's be honest here, if they beat Washington this past Saturday, is Chip still the head coach?
Yes, of course.
So there you go. So
I would hope so. I hope they wouldn't fire a guy with the division title on the next.
but well, that's a good point. But what I mean is, like, for all of these, things you can say about Chip and all these flaws, whatever, blah, blah, he's still within a game or two of winning 2 division titles in 3 years with no quarterback. So to me, that says everything you need to know about what type of quality of, just as a coach he is. I'm not disagreeing as a general manager. It was his first year at it. I think he would have improved. I'm not disagreeing as a general manager. He wasn't good. But as a head coach, I think the results speak for themselves. I mean, 26 wins in just under 3 years. Only Bruce Arians has more. He's got 34. And coming into this year, Chip was ahead of him, I'm pretty sure, or close to it. So, I mean, for all these problems, Chip certainly won. I mean, as you said earlier, the Cleveland Browns would probably take 26 wins in 3 years. The Jaguars would take 26 wins in 3 years. The Raiders would take 26 wins.
Really? You would, you don't think Gus Bradley?
No, my point is that these teams, for everyone that's like the Eagles aren't competing for a Super Bowl, the Eagles aren't going to win a Super Bowl. The Eagles were still one of the yeah, right. But the Eagles were still competitive the past 3 years. Even this year, in a bad year, they almost won the division.
Here's the crazy part to me. This is the part I want to ask you guys about, because I think all three of us over the course of the year have defended Chip as a coach, and then the other stuff obviously has become an issue with him as a personnel guy, and then if he lost the locker room or not, or who was upset at him, or his personality, what people had to say. So if you were to make a list of reasons that Chip Kelly's no longer the Eagles head coach, you don't have to tell me every single one of them, but how far down would it have to be for each of you before you get to his coaching ability? For me, it's like three
really
or four.
Far. Yeah, really far.
I'm on the list.
Right, so that's the sad part about all this, because the Eagles just got rid of a coach that all three of us think can coach,
and
but yet they fired him for everything else.
This guy's going to be hired next week,
if not even that long. And this is what speaks to the dysfunction. I mean, all right. So people like to talk about the locker room and him losing the locker room and all these like silly things. And like we all work in businesses. Everyone that's listening to this has a job. I mean, like this is how that's just how workplaces are. Not everyone likes the boss, and it's a shame to see someone who is obviously an extremely talented football coach, in my opinion, an extremely sharp guy, to now be fired and taken away from the team because of all these peripheral things. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get along with Howie Roseman. Maybe the players didn't like how he ran certain things. Just all these peripheral things. And I'm not disagreeing that those things are all part of being a head coach. So maybe we'll see. But I just think as a football mind, as a guy who on Sunday can coach, I still think Chip's a top 10 NFL coach. So you don't fire guys.
I really don't want to go here, but I'm going to go here.
Do it.
Lurie kept. Andy Reid had 2 sons sent to jail for dealing drugs. Am I right? I'm not making this up, right?
No, it's factual.
I know one sadly killed himself, but I mean, they went to jail. They didn't go to jail for they went to jail for selling drugs. And that wasn't grounds for firing. Chip Kelly, maybe got somebody in the office upset over something, and that's grounds for firing.
It just feels like this is all egos. Like it's Lurie feeling.
It's Howie Roseman. It's about Howie.
I agree with that. But I also think it's partly Lurie. Like who's running this team, me or you? Talking to Chip, you know what I mean? But like you were saying, they've never won a Super Bowl under Lurie. If, in my opinion, my personal opinion, if I had to guess who wins the Super Bowl first, Chip Kelly or the duo of Lurie and Howie, I'm picking Chip because I think he's going to go to. First of all, I think he's going to go to Tennessee with Mariota, and that's going to be quite something to be. It's going to be a problem. But like
Music City Miracle too.
But I don't know. I mean, again, we're both Chip guys. So if there's someone else on this that didn't think Chip was a head coach, I mean, you can certainly build a case, I guess. I mean, the team's regressed year after year. The offense isn't as good this year, and his personnel decisions were bad. That being said, I don't think there's a better candidate out there. I mean, maybe we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but when me and you talked about possible candidates, there was no one out there who I thought was like an amazing option. There certainly isn't a Chip Kelly out there like there was in 2013.
Well, that's true. That there won't be anybody out there that will get anybody excited like Chip did when he first arrived here. And I guess as you look forward, just kind of big picture more than the small picture with who the candidate would be. Big picture, I mean, they have an issue because this is now 3 years, one with him in a full power, Chip, of getting this roster. Elliot, you were talking about turning over the whole franchise with just everything, every single detail of the organization was Chip. But the roster itself, to his specifications, certain guys that he wanted to fit his system, some of them may have been bad fits, but whatever, that was the plan. Now someone else is going to have to come in here, and it almost feels like they're going to have to rebuild the team because this is Chip's team now, and you're going to have to ask a new coach to come in here and work with guys in a scheme he may not want to use.
So let me just say, so neither one of you guys think Pat Shurmur is going to be in the no?
Maybe Billy Davis.
Hey, we said last podcast Billy Davis might not be a bad head coach.
Billy said yesterday he thought he was coming back. Maybe he knew something that we didn't. We all did.
Yeah, right.
Head coach Billy Davis.
Here's the good thing though. Sam Bradford's a free agent, so any coach coming in here is going to get to pick his quarterback. And as Chip found out over the past 3 years, getting your quarterback is 80% of the battle in the NFL. I think when I think of who the Eagles should hire as their next head coach, I think me and Mark disagree on this a little bit. I mean, I know you want to go with an offensive guy.
No, I want the best guy.
All right. Well, then maybe we don't disagree. But my point was going to be,
I don't know who the best guy is. I have no idea who the best guy is. But
when I think about how the Eagles can win next year, I personally think there's more talent on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side. And
really?
I mean, we'll talk. Who's on the offensive side that you think's talented?
Lane Johnson.
Yeah, all right. So a tackle.
Well, I mean, some guys had bad years this year. I think if you add up I don't like the Pro Bowl as an example, but I think if you add up total Pro Bowls, offensive players, you'll have more Pro Bowls from the offensive side of the ball. Jason Kelce went to the Pro Bowl last year. He had a bad year this year.
But wouldn't that be weighed a lot for Peters, and that doesn't really matter anymore?
Well, Peters is done. He's done.
Right.
Yeah. DeMarco. I mean, I guess my point is I just look at the defensive side of the ball. I see Fletcher Cox, Byron Maxwell. I think Kiko still has some talent. Michael Kendricks, Malcolm Jenkins.
Wait, Kiko Alonso.
All right, well, here's where I'm going.
He's on the first train out of here now.
Here's where I'm going. Well, that's a good point. Kiko might be gone now. But here's where I was going with this. As I look at potential candidates, I wonder if maybe a guy like Sean McDermott, who can coach defense, can come in here, get the defense fixed. Maybe, the way the Carolina Panthers are winning, I know he has nothing to do with that, and they have Cam Newton. But maybe a defensive guy's the way to go here and pair him with a really good offensive coordinator. But I just think I don't know. I don't know what Lurie was thinking.
If you're telling, I'm going to agree with you that this defense is good. It's better than the offense. Well, then don't you need somebody to fix the offense? If the defense has good players, well, anybody can coach good players.
Besides Billy Davis, apparently.
So I want again, if and when they interview Sean McDermott. And I think they will. I think you have to interview Sean McDermott. Don't use the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It's 15-1. I would interview Mike Shula, though, as well. My first question to Sean McDermott is not about what he's going to do on defense. Tell me who your offensive coordinator is going to be. Who do you have in mind to hire as your offensive coordinator, and what kind of offense do you want to run?
Well, let me ask you guys this. Is this Eagles job a good job?
It's not as good to me as it was 3 years ago when Chip Kelly took the job. And that's a lot of that's on him, obviously.
It wasn't a great job then either, Joe. They were 4-12.
Well, here's why.
I think the players they had then. I like the players in the roster then better than I thought now.
Who'd you like?
Well, Sean McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin.
The number 4 pick.
What have those guys won? Help me out here.
Right, but there were players there. What have the guys won on this team? They stink too.
I mean, do you think the roster is more talented now or then? Do you think the roster is more talented now or then?
No. I don't think it was talented then, though, either. I don't think it was like...
All right, but which one, if you had to...
Then, I would have picked then. They had the number 4 pick to work with, and that roster.
Here's my point I would make, too. If you're a head coach, and obviously a lot of guys that get head
neither one had a quarterback.
Happy to get them, right? Like, a lot of guys that get head coaching jobs. This isn't like Chip Kelly coming from Oregon, where he could have picked and choose and could have stayed in college. Like, if you're a head coach, I mean, if you're a guy that's coming to the Eagles, you're looking and you're saying, all right, well, Chip just came. They fired him 2.5 years into his job. It sounds like this is a pretty dysfunctional place. I got to work with Howie Roseman, who's not thought of very highly in league circles. I'm probably going to have the 12th pick overall. I don't have a quarterback. I mean, I don't know how appealing this job is. It's going to be.
I don't think
it's going to be hard to win soon, and the teams they're not set up to win anytime soon. And Jeffrey Lurie just showed his trigger is kind of quick besides Reed. Of the jobs that are going to be open, compare them with all right, so you're Sean McDermott, and you get offered the Eagles job, the Dolphins job, the Titans job, and the Chargers job. You could have your choice of any one of those 4 jobs. Where are the Eagles on? I put the Eagles 4th. Tennessee. All right, the Titans would be 1 because of Mariota.
San Diego, you got Philip Rivers, and you're in San Diego.
And you're maybe moving to L.A.
L.A., that's even bigger.
And who was the other one? The Dolphins job? That's not a great job, but I still think that's a better job than the Eagles job.
But those two would be kind of tied. Like, they're both messes. But the first two, I agree with you. It's Tennessee and it's San Diego. Then it's those teams.
So that's kind of my point.
Miami probably has Miami did beat the Eagles this year. Let's keep that in mind.
And they have a quarterback.
Well,
I don't like Tannehill. I'm saying the Eagles don't even have Eagles don't have anybody. Maybe that's better than Tannehill, but they're like, who's the Eagles quarterback going to be now? You think
even if you like Bradford, he's not under contract, so you don't have a quarterback.
No,
that's what I'm saying. So, and Mark, you've told me this, and from people you've talked to, it's not a good quarterback draft. So it's not like they have a top 3 pick and there's an Andrew Luck sitting there.
No, and they're not going to pick high enough if there was.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if you're Sean McDermott and you as you just said, you're Sean McDermott and you know you can coach defense, but you need help on offense. Like, you better get a pretty amazing offensive mind, because Chip Kelly's one of the better ones in the league, and he couldn't do anything.
That's why I don't think McDermott – I think McDermott's on their list, but I don't know – and people say, he's from Philly. He's going to want to – he's from Philly. Big deal. You want to be successful. You know what I mean?
And for what it's worth, the organization fired his brother a few years ago.
I mean, what's worse than losing in your hometown? Nothing, right? So
right.
Sean McDermott, people like him because he's doing well in Carolina. They'll love – I mean – yeah, if I'm Sean McDermott and I have other choices, and I think he will, you're right. I'm going to go to a team that has a bad defense, knowing that I have confidence in myself as a defensive guy that I can fix the defense. Hey, my offense is pretty good. I got a good quarterback. I got a good line. I got a running back, whatever. So I'm good there. I'll fix the defense and we'll be good. That's not the case here.
Right.
That's why they need a guy. They needed somebody that can develop a quarterback, because they're going to have to. They're going to have to draft one of them, I guess. I don't know what they're going to do with quarterback.
The other question is,
it's like Greg Roman is a possibility.
Well, I saw that was on the list you published Tuesday morning. I thought that was the Kaepernick thing. I thought that was a good thing. But
he went to a Super Bowl as Colin Kaepernick's offensive coordinator. He did a pretty good job. I mean, I don't think Tyrod Taylor's a star, but he got the most out of Tyrod Taylor this year in Buffalo. And he's if you're looking for the local guy, he's from New Jersey.
The one thing I wonder about Greg Roman is I wonder if there's something about him when he interviews, because I feel like he has pretty good credentials, the way you're describing him, Mark, and what he's done. He seems like the type of guy that should be a head coach by now, or should have got closer. I don't know why he hasn't. Maybe it's just bad luck for him, but maybe it'll work out for the Eagles. But I just wonder, why isn't that guy a head coach already? I like him too.
You just said the phrase, maybe it'll work out for the Eagles. And I think, to me, when I think about everything that's happened in the past 12 hours or whatever, the one thing I don't think is that this is going to work out. I just don't I just don't get the feeling that the right move. And we don't know who they're going to hire yet. And who knows? I mean, who knows what'll happen? Maybe somehow John Harbaugh will come from ball. Who knows what will happen, right? No, that's probably, you're right. That's probably not going to happen. But who knows what their coach is going to be? But it just feels like this is not a good move. It's it feels like Lurie's picking the wrong guy. And we'll find out more. And at a certain point, this is obviously more, but also at a certain point speculation. But it feels as if he's picking Howie over Chip, and it just doesn't feel like that's the right decision.
That's exactly what he did. It came down again to I can't believe this. I thought a year ago Howie was. We were laughing about Howie. You and I. We were laughing. Everybody. Right. Yeah, he's going. He's in. They put his office in a different. We don't. We joked about. Asked him about the deflated balls in the Super Bowl. Or the AFC Championship game last year. Calling the PR guy and asking, "Hey, can we get Howie on the phone to talk about how you deflate?"
Well, and this is the other thing. Howie's the one that hired Chip. So if you're Lurie and you just fired this guy, why are you having the same guy who hired him help you find the new guy?
Exactly.
It's the same trio. It's Smolinski.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Obviously,
Lurie and Roseman
did not get the job. I mean, me and Mark and you think they made a good hire with Chip, but clearly they don't, because he's fired. So why are the same people looking for this head coach?
It's a great question.
And that's the other thing. That's the other question that's getting looked over in all this is, we're talking about the head coach because it's like it's the sexier position and it's all that, but. Do they hire a general manager first? Is Howie the general manager?
There was nothing about going after a general manager in that release, in that letter, or whatever you want to call it, that the Eagles sent out from chairman and CEO.
Well, but it did say Tom Donahue was taking over for Ed. It didn't say Howie was.
He'll assume the role of senior director of player personnel, but it never said Yeah, it said they're excited to select a new coach. It never said they were selecting anybody else.
So I guess we'll find out on Wednesday what Howie's going to do. But
how old is Tom Donahoe?
Yeah, how old is he?
I'll look it up.
Because I'm old, and I was a kid when he was doing this in Pittsburgh, so he's like 100.
Well, but so here's the question. If Howie's the guy, and let's say he is, let's go on the assumption he is. I think that makes the job less attractive. Let's go on the assumption he isn't. Do you hire a general manager first?
That would be the smart thing to do, but this is the Eagles.
And who is out? I mean, this is obviously I don't think any of us have off the top of our head.
Hiring the coach before the general manager is like when they hired the Y9 guy. I can't think of his name now. The D-line. Washburn before you hired a coordinator. That's why they couldn't get a coordinator because they already hired a D-line coach that was going to play a Y9.
Right. You
can't hire if you're hiring unless you're going to hire a coach, one power guy again and give him but that's not that. I guess we'll find out when.
And remember, the thing me and you kept hearing last year when they were trying to hire the guy who ultimately became Ed Manowitz was they couldn't get a good guy for the job because it wasn't really a general manager job.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they bring in another personnel guy, like how's this going to work? Is he going to be second to Howie? Is this guy going to come in and know he's not calling all the shots? If you're a head coach, do you come in knowing? Is this
they have for that job? Because why wouldn't you?
Is this Howie's team now?
Yes. Well, it's Jeffrey's team. Remember, Jeffrey wants his team back.
Right. Yeah. Right.
On Tom Donahoe, before we move on, I can't find his age for some reason, but I found two things on him. I found this that he was he maybe has some experience in this. He left the Steelers in 1999 after a power struggle with Bill Cowher, so he's got a little experience in this. And
this guy's perfect.
There is an article from 2005, or it might just be like from some sort of old internet forum, but the headline is Tom Donahoe, worst GM in football. So that's out.
And the fact that you can't find his age is not a good sign. How old he is.
Let me ask this before we wrap up, and you guys head off to.
His age, but he used to hang out with FDR.
Before you guys head off to go find out what Jeff Lurie has to say for himself, do you think how much of this, if any, had to do with the fan reaction, had to do with the way they played at home this year? I mean, fans were upset this season, obviously, and a lot of it got taken out on Chip because in the eyes of fans, he was for this season the be-all and the end-all. It all fell on him, and that's just where the wrath went when this team did not play well. Do you think Lurie was affected or impacted at all by what people were saying about the Eagles, about his fan base, his customers were saying, Elliot?
I don't think so, just because he waited so long towards the end to Reed when people wanted him gone. But it better not have played a factor, because to get rid of a guy like Chip because of how you performed in home games when you had a chance to basically win the division in your last home game, and granted you lost, but you were still right at there. I mean, that would be extremely, extremely short-sighted. And I mean, the saying goes, if you make decisions based off the fan you're sitting with them, obviously Lurie's got enough money, he's never going to be sitting in the 700 level. But the point is, you don't make decisions like that. So I don't think it did, and I think this was more just about an ego thing of him not wanting to compromise for Chip anymore. But I hope the fan had nothing to do with it.
One fan. It was all about one fan, Joe.
Let me guess, too. Yeah.
I mean, it all comes. Howie won. Howie lost. He lost a battle last year, but and give the guy. I mean, I don't like the guy a little bit. Obviously, if you haven't caught on yet, I'm not a big fan of Howie Roseman's, but I got to give him credit for perseverance and diligence. And you thought he was dead, and now he's back in power again.
And he got a pay raise out of all of it.
He's making a ton of money, yeah.
Yeah.
Really, Howie played this better than anybody. He really did from start to finish, and now he's back. Chip is gone, and the future of the Eagles is completely up in the air. And that's why we had to have this emergency podcast here.
And the first round pick will be a guard from Baylor.
Get excited, Eagles fans.
That's the linebacker from Louisville still on the board.
Marcus Smith outlasted Chip Kelly on this team.
Riley Cooper outlasted all of them.
Riley Cooper's the one. He's the one guy you would have to think when the next regime comes in, he's gone, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I would think, but I don't know.
All right, guys. This has been certainly a whirlwind 13 or so hours, whatever we are now, since Chip Kelly, the firing or releasing came down. more information will come, and you guys will have it all on NJ.com. Elliot, as always, man, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, Joe, thank you.
And thanks to all of you for listening to our emergency podcast of the No-Huddle Show, our Philadelphia Eagles podcast on NJ.com. Be sure to follow the show at the No-Huddle Show. Subscribe on iTunes and on Stitcher. We'll be back next week after Week 17 and after we get a little more information on what this offseason is going to be for the Eagles with a new head coach as Chip Kelly is officially out.